a very, very small miniature, which is 1000 degree silver, pure silver case.
Oh, wow.
That's a Holy Quran. What we will find inside is apart from the it's not easy to for that Holy Quran, and
Oh,
you
my.
can see how
Oh my!
Wow. Oh, that's
you
wow,
will
Sherif.
be able to read it. That's the index. I'm sorry.
Is that the entire text of the Quran?
Actually, for that version, it's not the entire text of the Quran. It's only a few parts from the Holy Quran, and that's with a chain. I don't know why they're adding that chain. That's that one I would like to show you. But the other one is very prestigious covering for that is a holy text of the Quran for that one.
Wow.
As you can see here, that is the cover or the binding.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that is
magnificent.
the text inside. If we are going to measure the pages, you can hear the sound of the pages. Is very, very, very thin pages to perform that the Holy Quran. If you are going to take the thickness gauge, and if you're going to measure one page, that is the micrometer. It measured by each step. It's one micrometer.
Oh,
okay.
my.
So if we are going to check the page, it is half micrometer.
Oh, my.
That's for the pages. That's why for that edition we have the whole Holy Quran in approximately 490 pages for only one. It's not easy to read through it, but actually it contains all the Holy Quran here. If you can.
Who makes paper that thin?
Actually, I don't know. Maybe it has been exported from another country. I'm not sure.
How rare is something like that?
It's commonly available here in Egypt. You can buy it still up to now. It's from the 19th century. 20th century, but still up to now you can buy such.
So you can go out and get something like that.
Sorry?
You can go out and get something like that.
Yes, still up to date. You can go to the shop and you can find it, but you have to be sure it is a fully Holy Quran, not because some others are adding a different page with a different thickness, so they will not be able to add all the Holy Quran in a very small and very thin volume like that.
Is there an authorized text that people should ideally look for? You mentioned that you have one there with less than the entire version and one that has all. Who determines which one is the appropriate one for believers to read?
For your, if you are a normal naive user, maybe you will not be able to recognize it. But if you are a little bit expert, that's why I mentioned the thickness of the pages. It's not logically if you have a very normal size of the page and with that thickness, and they convince you that it's the Holy Quran, all the holy text of the Quran. It will not fit inside that pages. The pages should be very thin, as I've already mentioned before, not more than half micrometer. If you have a text block like such a thickness.
Thank you for sharing that.
Todd Summerfield has posted that Oxford Press in England is the only maker of that kind of paper.
Sorry?
That's interesting. Todd Summerfield, who is works with the
He is an expert.
He's an expert in miniature books, and
yes.
He's saying that Oxford Press in England is the only maker of the thin paper that you were showing.
The thin paper, yeah. Good knowledge too. It's good to know that, but actually I don't know. I'm not sure who the printer and who the manufacturing of that such type of very thin paper. It's not only very thin paper, but it's printable. So it is sized and it has a filler, so printers can do a printing on it.
Well, if anybody would know how to do it, Sherif, it would be you. You certainly would know what to do to take care of something, because I admire what you do so much. You are just a phenomenal person with the team that you work with. I look at what you do with awe.
Thank you.
You are an artist. You are a true artist in your field, Sherif. And it's such a pleasure to know you. I feel like I know you.
Pleasure to me as well.
So I am going to let Stephen come on, because I know he would love to see you. Thank you so much, Sherif, for sharing that.
While Steve and Edie are changing places, I have a question. Since you first came to visit with us a couple of years ago, every time I turn around on social media, there you and your staff are. How big an international following do you have now?
For my YouTube channel, actually now I have more than 1,300 followers and over 300,000 views. That's for my channel, and I hope that one day I will reach 1 million views. Maybe.
I have no doubt that you will. And by the way, I wanted to put up your part of your fan club was out there saying good luck. So
hello, thank you, my colleague.
We always look forward to your visits because we have so many of your friends come to watch the show.
Yes,
we welcome them all, and we hope that they will come back to visit on other weeks. You know, I know they would like to come on every single week and see you, but we know you have to do your day job.
And we also appreciate it, Sherif. We appreciate it that you come fairly regularly and watch the program as well.
Yes, that's one of my favorites. Your program is one of my favorites.
Thank you so much. I am going to bring Stephen in here, but I also want to put in your slideshow, because I know that you have a lot of things that you want to share. I don't know if we'll get to all of them, but certainly wanted you to share some of them.
Yes. Last show we didn't have a time to talk about every single slide. I hope that we will be able to do it at that show today. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Sherif. Pleasure. Lindsay, hey. And Bibliotheca Alexandrina. Well,
yes, much more than a library.
I like that.
Tell us about your slides. I am keen to see them all.
Actually, last show we've managed to talk about a little bit about Bibliotheca Alexandrina, to at least let people know what is a Bibliotheca Alexandrina and why we are saying that Bibliotheca Alexandrina is much more than a library. If you go to the next pictures, you'll see how fantastic is Bibliotheca Alexandrina, how it is. Now you can see the largest reading area in all the world with an indirect sunlight which is lighting all the area, which contains all subjects in history, geography, maps, and rare books, and all the library which is needed. You can see the library from outside, and you will recognize that the Bibliotheca Alexandrina That's why we said it's a Bibliotheca Alexandrina, the new library of Alexandria. If we translate it from Latin to an English, we will say that it's the new library of Alexandria. That is the location of the new library of Alexandria. For sure, it's in Alexandria. So I'm just putting some images for the people who doesn't know where is Alexandria. It's in Egypt, so that some picture showing how Alexandria looks like during the map, on the map. Where is Alexandria? If we go to the next slide, I just like to make a note about how important is Bibliotheca Alexandrina to the Egyptians, and especially for Alexandrian people. During the 25th of January revolution, all the world know what is the 25th Egyptian revolution, the new Egyptian revolution. If we will go through some news during that period, you will find a lot of historical building has been destroyed, has been burned in several places. I will not be happy to talk back about such events, but in Alexandria and in Bibliotheca Alexandrina, as we can see on the pictures here, the Alexandrians people, special Jews, they've already surrounded all the building by their body and saying that belongs to us, and we will never do anything to the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, especially that the building is all the building is it's in glass. It was very easy to go inside, and for thieves and looters during revolutions, a lot of thieves and looters go inside circle places and go to just take some artifacts. What is that inside with the Bibliotheca Alexandrina? We have many museums like the Manuscript Museum, the previous President Sadat Museum, the Antiquate Museum, and the History of Science Museum as well. And that's a picture of one of the pictures of the Manuscript Museum. That is Sadat Museum. That's the only museum for Sadat in Egypt. And we'll go to the next one is Antiques Museum. The Antiquities Museum, History of Science Museum. It will be the next. That's Antiquities Museum, and then we will go to the History of Science Museum. The next slide. If we will go through the other slides fastly, I know that we don't have time to talk about all the library. It may take several hours. It contains a lot of museums, exhibitions, Culturama, planetarium, and much more in activities, summer activities, theaters, and all the other activities which is internationally known. If one of our viewers are interested in Bibliotheca Alexandrina to know more, you can go through their website. Our website, the Bibliotheca Alexandrina website, is bibalex.org. It's easy, bibalex.org, and you can be able to read more. Here is a picture of the planetarium. It's like a full screen that sphere. It's like on a full screen inside, and you can see a lot of movies. For instance, about the globe and about the sun and earth and all the contents of the globe. You can just feeling that you are inside the globe. Moving to our conservation lab, which is the main important thing that we're going to talk about today. Which has been established in 1996. which is before the official launching of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina. Here you can find, we have several labs, like a chemistry lab and leaf casting or mechanical manual conservation lab and mechanical leaf casting lab and other conservation labs and then training lab as well. Our slogan is we conserve and we care, that we're doing a conservation for our collection, and we do care about our collection, especially our rare collection. We have been certified from ICOM Egypt as one of the best conservation lab in Egypt in 2015. Actually, we are divided to three main units: manuscript conservation unit and rare book conservation unit, which is I am the head of that unit, and the training unit as well. Mostly that we believe in sharing experience. That's why we've already launched a lot of training program to just fill the gap between the practical part and the theoretical part in the education institution, especially the conservation education institution in our region. Most of the education of the most of the institutions have already a special course for conservation, but they don't have a specific course for archival material conservation, and they have a gap on the practical part. We are trying to fill that gap and doing a practical conservation training. That's why we've already launched the first archival conservation training center in the Middle East region. And we already have a lot of students coming from around the world. We've already have students from Egypt for sure, from Libya, from Kazakhstan, from United States, from the United Arabics, from Saudi Arabian, and from Spain, from Italy, and from a lot of countries. We have next week we will have 2 students from India as well. If we will go back a slide, one slide, it will show, it's talking about that we're working in conserving our collection and doing a conservation and restoration for other institutions. For instance, for Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyya in Kuwait, we've already managed to do a conservation and restoration for 320 rare books. And now, actually, we're running one of the biggest conservation project with the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate of Alexandria. We're working on 100 Byzantine manuscripts. None of the conservation lab on maybe, as I know, already worked on such project for Byzantine manuscripts. Maybe that other conservation lab working on 3 or 5 or 16 Byzantine manuscripts, but we are working with 100 Byzantine original manuscripts.
What period of time for our viewers does when you describe Byzantine manuscripts, what era does that encompass?
From the 14th century to the 17th century, that will be commonly recognized as a Byzantine. For sure, the Byzantine manuscript has some features. We can talk about that later on. But to recognize it is a Byzantine or it's a Greek manuscript, it has a lot of features which describe its binding and its substance and its binding technique. Actually, it was like a competition between us and other conservation lab in Europe, and we won that competition to be one of the partner with the Patriarchate of Alexandria to do a conservation for their collection, and we were going to follow with another conservation process. As I've already mentioned before. Okay. Steve, you would like to ask a question?
No, I was thinking, maybe you heard me thinking. I was just thinking out loud, I guess. You showed some pictures a while ago on one of the times you were on the show, if I remember this correctly. There was a pile of books about as far as the eye could see and about the height of the average 6-foot person. So I was going to ask you, have you gotten through the first pile of that yet? I mean, that just looked like a lifetime of work, plus a lifetime of work.
Actually, for such a conservation project, we should have a frame time for doing that conservation. And yes, that one of, I remember that last show I was talking about an uncovered conservation project. Now we can talk about that conservation because now it's
no longer classified material. Yeah, you don't have to check your phone anymore. I get
it. Now I'll be able easily to talk about that project. Actually, we are going to make a conservation and restoration for 1,853 books, or we can call it a record, from the Authority of Suez Canal, the research center for the Suez Canal, and that is for the first time it has been uncovered, and it will be available for researchers after our conservation process. The conservation process will take 6 years, 6 continuous working day by day to be 6 years working to do a conservation. I would like to mention that most of these collection, I would like to give you an example, like the dimension is 50 by 60 centimeters, and the weight is some of them is weighted like 40 kilos.
Wow.
So you can imagine how heavy and how thick that collection. That's why on the picture you can see it's like endless row of rare books. It's a record which is recorded the navigation system through this period. So it will be very important for the people and for the researcher all around the world, which is that record is documented the movement and the navigation system for all the world during the period from 19th century to the 20th century, which is the period of the start of opening the Suez Canal in Egypt till the late of 19th and 20th century. The documents contains all the data about that thing, and that's what we are believing now. It's an history, and that it should be uncovered yet. It is uncovered yet, and it should be covered in the future for the researchers who are working on it. We are keen to keep all the historical evidence, every single historical evidence on that records. We are keeping it. If you are remembering that I've already put a movie about a very small clip about 2 of my colleagues are working on a very thin paper, trying to uncover some paper from each other. We are going to make like a blog or make about talking about that.
That's very intricate work, Sherif. I watched that video. I was going blind watching them. That little picking action. Yeah.
Imagine that this piece of paper, it was under 2 layers of papers, and it contains an information. We are not planning to lose any even uncovered information on it, because it's one of that historical part of such object. So we're trying to conserve it, put it back together, and we are planning to put it inside the object again to to make it available for the researcher in the future again. And the result was amazing. I will publish the result, and it was amazing. And it would show after we've already finished the conservation project, the process for these bees, we discovered the system of archiving before. They have like I'm not sure, but they used to have like two archiving system. And when they launched the new archiving system, they add the label on the spine of the books on the old archiving system. So we've already discovered that the type of archiving system, the old type of archiving system.
When someone brings you a project like you described that is going to take 6 years, how many people do you need to accomplish that? What size is your staff?
The problem is not how many we need. The problem is what is the quality and what is the qualification we need. Actually, we were managing to have a team of 10 conservators, or working with a team leader who are working on that. And we've already managed to choose 10 from best of the best to work for such a project. Because if you have like 100 and they don't have the experience, you're going to lose a history. It's not a matter of quantity, it's a matter of quality.
And are you training your own people to come up and do these things?
Yes, actually, we've already managed to do a 3 months training, and we've already go through different conservation techniques. After the 3 months, we've already go through with newcomers to just make a test for them to choose the best from them. For sure, there were more than 10, and we've already choose that the 10 which we are working with on that project, because that's one of the very important project, that one of the largest project in Egypt in conservation. I'm talking about the archival material in Egypt. So we already care about who are going to touch and work on such objects.
And how do people come to the library? What makes someone in Egypt decide, I want to be a rare book conservator?
Such a type of culture, that's what we are trying now to build. Not a lot of people know that there is a conservation for rare books. It's not common, especially in the Middle East area. It's not common to know what is. Even my friends, when I was working, my first work as a rare book conservation conservator, I've already found the difficulty to explain to them what is the conservation and what is the importance of rare books, and what is the importance of the history which is contained in rare books and manuscripts and such written objects and written heritage. Nowadays, we have already managed, I've already mentioned before, we've already managed to have a training center to just develop a training, developing a training programs to make students understand what is the conservation technique is. Most of the students who are coming from archaeology institutions and conservation institutions, actually recently we have a special institution in Alexandria for conservation, which is called an Abu Ir Conservation Institution, that like a college. So we plan to make a regular training for their students.
Sherif?
Yes.
Unfortunately, there was a little delay in the switch there. Unfortunately, we have once again run out of time, and you always have such wonderful material. and I happen to know that we've only gotten through half of your slides. So would you be willing to come back to visit us again soon?
Sure, we can manage. Sure, we can manage.
We would just love to talk with you some more and see what you have to both to finish your slideshow, because I know you have a lot of good material that we want to hear about. But in the meantime, you always come up with other things, and so that's always why it's
happy time with nice people is always moving
Sherif is very fortunate in his career in that he knows what he will be working on for the next 10 or 15 years.
Does he know the budget's been approved too?
Sorry?
Has the budget been approved for 10 years? God bless.
Yeah, 6 years.
Wow.
You've got, so you've got
it's a very huge budget.
Was it up front?
And ready to go.
Was it up front? What happens if the donor's status financially changes? You got all yours up front. It doesn't matter.
Yes, it's a huge amount of fund, but
imagine, man.
Yes, we've managed. For sure, we have to manage to do that in the right way, and especially financially way.
But look at the work that you're doing. I mean, when you think about what the import of this and the information that is contained in the things that you are preserving, that you are bringing back so that they can be preserved and studied, and so
yes.
that it adds to the understanding of so much in our society. It's just, I'm in awe.
That's the main concept. That is the main concept of a conservation. That's the main concept of conservators. That's why we are always saying that the conservators should be honest, because the object is under your hand. No one can see. Whatever you are preserving for the futures and for the next generation. Whatever you are hiding or whatever you are cutting or demolishing, that's you are just taking it away from the next for the next generation.
Would they let you publish this? Go ahead, Lindsay. Go ahead.
That raises a question that I'd love to chat with you about the next time you're with us, and I'm sure Steve and Alan and Thornwood as well. As you know, we're having a major book theft scandal here in America, where a rare book dealer and a curator of rare books are accused of stealing $8 million worth of documents.
Yes,
and one of the questions that is being asked is, how could people who were experts in their field and who were doing the kinds of things you've just described, the kind of professional work that requires an absolute fidelity to accuracy and truth, how could they turn around in their off hours and be stealing books and cutting them up to sell the plates from them? And so
I'm not sure why they are just moving like that. Maybe because of they weren't honest from the beginning, or they are. I'm not sure.
That's something
I cannot imagine that. I cannot imagine that someone who's a preserver of an history, he is the same one who are taking it or doing something wrong on it. That's why in the Egyptian law, if someone who are responsible of like a manuscript, if he is the one who did the stolen or who did the mistake, he will, like, if by the normal law go to the jail for 5 years, for that one he will be 10 years, so it will be doubled, because you are the one who should understand what is the value of such object, and you are the one who are selling it or stealing it. So we are doing these things in purpose. So the loads double the
penalty.
Underscore the point.
The penalty for
So if you ever
we'll want to ask you about as the case proceeds here.
And if you ever found the real Stargate manual, would you let us know?
Oh, Jesus.
It's a joke. It's a
So,
joke.
with that, I want to remind everybody that we are streamed live here every Saturday at usually at 2:30. We were at 2:40 today, but usually at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Facebook. Rare Book Cafe is the only regularly scheduled live streaming program dedicated to the world of rare and collectible books. And we are here for the love of books. Now, I'm going to pop out of here while these gentlemen continue the conversation, and you're not going to get to hear all of it, but you will get to hear it at another time because this will be an ongoing conversation with Sherif. As always, we are so pleased to have you visit us, and we want to we'll make arrangements for you to visit us again soon and to talk about some of the other things that you have to show us. But I have to stop talking and get out of here so that I can put the credits up. So that's the technology of this thing that somebody has to get out. So I'm going to get out, and if you guys just continue your conversation. Well, Lindsay has gone away.
Okay, well, I'll ask my question again. You know, Stargate was a movie here. They found something in an Egyptian dig. It was science fiction. So jokingly, I say, if you ever found the manual to open the gate from another dimension, can I help you repair it?
I'm not sure, but if it is a paper-based or papyrus, that for sure I will be able to conserve it. But maybe I will not be able to read it. That is a problem.
I hope if it was that, I could follow the instructions.
We'll be able to solve the signs.
So what's your anniversary coming up now? I can't keep track anymore. How long have you been doing this? I've known you for about 3 years, I would say, just short of, or right now, just a little over, actually. Yeah,
13 years now.
Wow. And how many people are in your group now?
My group is we are 20. And
no, I mean your membership. On your Facebook group. What's your number now? How many followers?